G'day and welcome to David Joshua Ford Live. This is episode 116, and on today's show we're taking a look at a free Canon PTZ control surface that I have put together in the last week and I'm excited to share with you. So on today's show we're going to take a look at what that is, how to use it, how to install it into Companion if you are not familiar with Companion, and then towards the end I'll also show you a full-featured version which is available for download if you are interested in getting something with more bells and whistles. But what I wanted to make today was just a free version to control one camera so that if you are just have a simple setup and just need that you can get going and operate a camera via a Stream Deck or an iPad, computer, or an iPhone or any phone or tablet. And also you can integrate this with a bunch of other equipment in terms of switches and audio and all that kind of production gear. So this is a really neat thing to be able to have. So let's kick off and we'll take a look at the first part, which is what can this Canon PTZ free control, or what can it do? And so basically it's something that you can look at on a Stream Deck, or you can either control it over an iPad or even an iPhone. It's basically any device that has a web browser if you're using tablets or phones, or a Stream Deck if you have sort of a dedicated hardware device which has buttons in it. Let's take a look in here. So this is my Stream Deck, and I can go to my PTZ profile, and now this is the control surface to control this camera one that I've got here. So I can put it on, and I'll explain the sort of two sides of this. This side is the presets and drive mode. So this is sort of recalling presets and doing on-air maneuvers in a certain sort of timed manner or over a certain amount of speed. And then this side is more of manual control of like positioning camera, zooming in and out, and setting the speed of that. So there's basically the two sides of it. So let's start with the reposition side. This is the drive setting here. So we've got either reposition, which is like a fast maneuver, like this, to sort of go quickly in between two presets, or you've got a time setting. So you can have time is at 2 seconds. So this will be more of a smooth on-air maneuver. It takes away some of that kind of searching which happens in the sort of reposition or normal mode is what Canon calls it. And then here under the button here is fast. You can go slow, medium, and fast. So slow is 30 seconds, medium 7, and fast is 2 seconds. So what that means is I could go from a wide shot like I have here opening my show on position 1, and I could set it to a 30-second time maneuver, and I'm going to come into a close-up on over a 30-second maneuver. So this means that you've got much more sort of presentational control over something if you want a smooth on-air maneuver, if you want to time it over a certain amount of time, or if you want something sort of medium, then you could go, I'm just going to come, actually I'll reposition to mid shot here, and then I'm on time mode, and I just want to do a fairly, smooth zoom in to a close-up here. That's not quite as slow. Alternatively, if you hit time again, you'll enter the speed mode, and you can operate between speeds 1, 2, or 3. So I can hit this one, and it'll come out at sort of speed 3, or speed 1 is going to go like very slowly, and it's just a set speed. So if you have presets that are a long way apart, then it's going to take a long time to get to finish the maneuver, because it's just moving at a constant speed rather than a time between two positions. So that's kind of how this side of it works. You've got 8 presets here that you can recall. You can simply position your camera somewhere. So just say I want it up here on my monitor, and I can zoom in like that in my webcam there, and I can hold down a button, and now that is saved to that one. So now if I hit button 1, it's going to come back to my wide shot that I had, and if I hit 8, it's going to go to that position. Or if I want something that's a bit smoother, I could put on time 7 seconds and do a maneuver from my webcam or showing some product back to camera. So you can see how you can use this right out of the gate, just to either do presentation or go between people or to a product very easily in that regard. Then over this side, this is just the manual control. Again, you've got fast, medium, and slow. So if you're wanting to do a bit more of a, like on-air zoom in manually, you could do that just with slow. Medium's good for just kind of like, finding a position that you want to save. Or fast is good if you really just want to, like, you're just trying to find a position, you're zooming in, and then you would save that position like that, and then you can come back from, let's go repo, we go, just so it goes fast between this one and going in to 8. So that's basically how to use that. If I come into a close-up here, it's also auto tracking, so you can enable that. You have to turn that on the camera as well, but that'll just sort of track your face around, so it's pretty easy. There's a button to turn the camera off into standby mode. You've got to hold this for half a second. Just wanted to make sure you couldn't accidentally bump it and turn off your camera mid live stream. So if you hold that for half a second, it will put the camera into standby mode and it'll cut the picture. And then if you hold that again, it will boot it up and camera comes back on. There's also a module saying okay. If you tap that, it'll turn off the module. So this has actually disconnected the connection back to companion, or you can press it again. It'll either give you a warning sign if there's something wrong with the connection, maybe like an IP address or something that's not right. Otherwise it'll say module okay. And then there's this last button here, which will exit out to page 1. So that's basically how to use this free profile. You can install it for additional cameras if you want to, but this is set up mostly for one camera. And also when you install it, there's a button down here that you can copy to your main page, this one here, Free PTZ, to jump into this page. All right, let me jump over to here, and we're going to take a look at part 2, which is how to install this and get this set up. So if you're new to this, this is running Companion in the background, which is a free open source application, which has been very well documented in the sort of professional broadcast live streaming industries. So there's a ton of information on this out there. But I wanted to show you how to use this, I guess with a Stream Deck, but also there's, you can use that with the iPad as well. So you can have the same sort of button control here between camera presets that way on an iPad or on an iPhone. The main thing is here that we're going across a local network. I will cut to this one. So to give you a bit of an idea of what Companion is, it's an application that runs on a computer and is controlling your camera over the network, which should be familiar to you if you have a Canon PTZ camera, because it is a network camera, and so it relies on an IP address between the camera and the computer to talk to each other. So if you've used a Stream Deck before, you might have used Elgato's application, and that is a USB connection directly to the computer. In this instance, we're going to quit that application and we're going to open up Companion, and we can either run it on sort of the local address 127.0.0.1, or we can run it on the IP address of the computer. That's the Wi-Fi address, or the Ethernet address, is preferably the Ethernet if you have that set up. So the way this works is now you're going to have your computer connected to your router or switch, which you probably have because you're connected to the internet, and you probably have a router. And so we're talking about an ecosystem that is the local network here. So we're not actually going to the internet at this point. This is just all of your local router connected to a switch. And so Companion, you have the Stream Deck connected via USB to the computer. The computer's running Companion. Companion on the computer is connected to your local network, and then the local network is also connected to your other production equipment. So that's like switches, or in this case, Canon PTZ cameras that are going to be network-based technology. And so then you can add on additional control things, like you could have a secondary computer with Companion satellite if you want to have another Stream Deck more remotely in your studio setup. Or you can also, over Wi-Fi, have a tablet or a phone that is running a web browser and it's basically connecting back to Companion, giving you buttons to control on an iPad, or on a remote computer you could be running Companion satellite connected to the USB Stream Deck. Basically, the USB Stream Deck needs a host, which is why it's connected to a computer, and then Companion satellite connects back to Companion on the main computer. So that's what we have in our setup here. So to get started, go to my website, davidjoshuaford.com is what it is, and then under store free control profiles, there's one for the ATEM switcher, there's one to remap Stream Deck XL to Stream Deck Studio, and the new one is free Canon PTZ control, so you can download that. Then you need to go to bitfocus.io download page, and you're going to grab Companion. Depending on the machine that you're running, it's going to be either Linux if you've got it, or Apple Silicon, or Intel, depending on what you're running. So I'm running the M series Mac here, and like an M4, and so it's a Silicon one. Intel is for the older Macs, and then Windows if you're running Windows. So it runs on all of those. Just grab this stable version. You're going to download that and copy it to your applications folder, open it up, and you will have, this is my other computer, once you open it up, it'll run this little thing in the taskbar here, at least on a Mac, and you say launch, show hide window. And then here you can choose an interface to access Companion in a web browser. It's either going to be 127.0.0.1 if you are running it on a local computer, or if you want to control it across more computers remotely, it's probably better to set it to the computer's IP address. You'll probably have a wireless, like a Wi-Fi or a wired address showing up here. I'm just running this over wired, so you can see my address here is 192.168.7.11. That's actually the IP address of my computer's Ethernet, which is now Companion's address, and then launch the GUI, and you'll see that it will load up here with that same address. So this means that any computer that is connected to my network here, can go to this address, and I'll be able to see this page, and I can make changes. And importantly, I can also open up control buttons on that page. Let's jump over here. Okay. So we need to import this. You'll probably have a blank page. I got a bunch of stuff in here because I'm sort of running a whole show. But if you come down to, not to that one, let's close that one up, to import, you can import the configuration, and it'll be, the file that you download from my website will look like this kind of thing, .companionconfig, and you can open that. If you've got nothing in there, you can just import it, and away you go. If you have Companion profiles already, and you've got things on other pages, then you may want to come down here, go insert a new page, and so then there's a blank page, and then you can choose, if you've got connections in here already, you can map it to an existing camera, or you could go create a new connection. So if you're blank, it'll probably create a new connection. I've already got one in here for PTZ1, so I'm going to choose my second camera. I've got 6 of them in here, but I'm going to map it to 2 instead of to 1, even though that was built for. So then we just go import to new page. It says imported successfully. Go up to buttons, and you can see here, we can scroll all the way down to 105. I should probably rename this PTZ 2 because I have back over here, I have PTZ 1, which is what I was showing you before. And you'll notice on this page, there's this button down here. So you can actually just Command C to copy this or cut it, either way. And then you can go to your home page, like maybe page 1, and paste it in there. I'm just going to call this PTZ 2, just to differentiate which camera I am controlling. And that's the, where are we? Okay, so this button will go automatically back to page 1, but if you wanted to change it to a different page, this is where you would come to just choose a different page. And then in your, here you probably need to update this button here. So the new button that we copied across, we are going to go to page, not 103, we're going to go to page 105 is what that was set to, and PTZ1 is connected to 103. So these are the two jumps that are created between pages to go from either camera 1 or camera 2. So that means now I can jump into here and I'm controlling camera 2 between, you know, whatever presets, or I can go back and I go to camera 1 and I can control camera 1 between whatever presets. So as you can see, you can re-import this multiple times if you've got multiple cameras, and then you can create a menu page which has multiple buttons that you can jump out to. So you can use this with more cameras if you want to sort of re-import that. Let's go to over here. I just want to show you on the iPad 2, you can jump to, let's go PTZ 2, and I know my presets are here, so I can sort of zoom in on these ones. And I can also do the same on an iPhone, or this is PTZ1, so let's go to PTZ2, and we're going to go to like a full picture of my desk, or we can zoom back in to the close-up. So you can see here, it's very easy to use this from any device, so it's very flexible. You know, you could have a producer sitting with a laptop and they have this in a web page on a computer. So just buttons for everyone, and then because it's companion, you can build in, you know, ATEM switches and VLC playback and any other sort of things that you want to do with that. So that's basically how you would get that installed and operating. But let's take a look now at the full featured set. So what I just showed you was the free one, which is great if you have just a couple of cameras and you're just getting started, or if you are interested in my full featured profile, but you're maybe new to Companion, and so you want to download something, get it connected to the network, and just get a sense of how that works, particularly if you're new to a network environment and dealing with IP addresses and making sure that all the cameras are on the same subnet and that kind of stuff. So this is something that you can download for free, get started, and then if you want to upgrade, then there is a profile that I've spent a lot of time to integrate this into sort of a production process that is really revolving around the ATEMs as well. So whether you've got an ATEM Mini or you've got a 4ME switcher, you can take this PTZ control, and it's integrated with the ATEM, both in terms of tallies and also switching. So I'm going to show you some of the things that you can do in this, because it's really neat. So actually I'll jump over to this one first. So if you go to my website, this is the under store and Canon PTZ control. I don't know why that's not there. Having problems with that one. That's weird. That shouldn't be like that. I don't know why that is. Let's go back there. Go to the, why would that do that? Okay. But you can integrate it with, that's weird. I'm gonna have to check my store. Something's not working with the store. That's really weird. All right, let's go on from that. I'll get that back up and working. I don't know why the store is down at the moment, but that's unusual. I haven't had that before. Okay, so we are coming back to here. And the profile will have, again, a button that you can jump into controlling these cameras. But it's really trying to get all of the control onto a single interface. Now you can actually add in another 3 stream decks alongside you, so that you can have additional recall buttons and additional camera control for each camera, as well as a menu page. But you can access these on very easily there. And then all 6 cameras are along the bottom here. And like I said, it was integrated with the Canon, sorry, the ATEM for switching, which gives you a preview program or just turn that mode off. So as you select a camera, I don't have these cameras connected. I've just got cameras 1 and 2, so you can see the names there. And you can also see red in the background to show that like camera 2 is this one, which is on air. So it's just giving you a bit of feedback there. And you can see that camera 1 is in the preview. So if I select that, if I hit the preview mode, what this is doing now is every time I select a camera, it's also putting that camera into the ATEM's preview. I wonder what's in that one. I don't think anything's in that one. Streaming bridge. There's nothing coming into this input. If I cut, yeah, it's just black. Same with the C200. Nothing's in that input. And then the deck link, nothing's in there. So these are just black at the moment, but I do have a camera 1. You can see it's on preview, and I can cut, and I can cut back. So, or I can also hold it and do a crossfade. So this is how you can just select a camera, have it in preview, choose where you want to frame it up, and then cut to it, and then select the next camera and cut to that. So that's how the sort of manual switching is built into that. So you don't have to jump out to do ATEM switching. It's sort of integrated in here just by putting on the preview mode. The program mode is similar to this, but rather than putting the selected camera into the ATEM's preview, when you recall a preset, it is recalling the preset and putting that camera into program. So it means that you don't have to think about switching at all, really. You can just have a panel of cameras and then just select presets to get there. So, and there's 2 different ways in which this happens depending on the drive mode that you're in. So remember we had repo, which is sort of an off-air maneuver to get there as fast as possible. And then there's the time or speed, which is, a more steady on-air maneuver. So if I'm on, let's just put it on 7 seconds so it's not too crazy. And I'm going to be on, I'm currently on camera 2 on this main shot, and I'm going to be cutting to this shot on the main screen. I just got my picture-in-picture on to demonstrate. So I've selected camera 1, and I just want to go to a close-up, and it's going to cut to the close-up, and it's going to zoom in. So this works well, particularly if it's a slower maneuver, because you want to cut and you want that on-air maneuver to be in there. If you've got something faster like this, let me just cut back to this one. So just say I've got 2 seconds in there, then it's obviously a little, unless you're doing something like a big high energy entrance to a show, it could work. But the other way of doing this, so if you imagine like you've got a group of people sitting in a panel and you've got a bunch of presets for 2 shots, close-ups, all that kind of stuff, then you can use the, let me cut back to here, repo mode. So the repo mode, if you recall, was, let me go back to, we're on air here, is just going to go as fast as it can between 2 presets. Hope that will focus. And so what it will do is wait for the reposition to happen. When you have program mode on, it's going to wait for it to reposition, and then it will cut. So I'm on camera 2 at the moment. I've selected camera 1. I know I'm on a close-up here. Let's just say I wanted to reframe to a mid-shot, and then I want to cut on air. I'm on the repo. Because I've got repo selected, if I hit mid-shot, it's going to quickly reframe, and then the ATEM is going to cut. So that is just built into this profile so that you can choose your mode. The preview mode works really well if you are directing a show and you want to put things into preview and then cut, more sort of traditional style. And then the reposition program mode. So where are we? The program mode here, where you press a preset and it just puts that preset on air and it cuts to the camera. Works well if you're a podcaster or a live streamer who's presenting and you don't want to think about looking at a preview monitor and then cutting. You know, you just want to hit a button and jump to it. And I have a similar sort of thing which I do with my tail air cameras over here. So I've basically copied, you know, these preset buttons to another page, and it means I have a bunch of camera positions across 2 cameras that I can just cut to, and I don't have to think about cutting to it. So I can cut to this one and it will get it on air, or it could reframe it for the the N300 down there. So it just means much easier to cut on camera. I'm going to come back into here. We can focus up. All right, so that is the program preview mode. Like I said, I usually put on preview so that it doesn't cut around the program. And so now we've got a recall page here. So for each camera, you're going to have positions 1 to 8 on the front page, just so you can do some fast switching. If you need more positions, 9 to 36 is available on this recall page. And then there's also an adjust page where you can manually set the time or the speed. So you could dial in like 9 seconds or 100 seconds, whatever or 99 seconds, I guess, on these camera drive specifically. So if I jump back over here, see it says 9 seconds now. So as the camera drive, you can set into auto or manual. You can control gain, shutter, iris, white balance, focus, autofocus, the focus speed, the white balance presets in terms of daylight. There's more automated, auto tracking features. So you've still got the, I should go to camera 1 for this because I've got this one set up. You can turn auto tracking on and sort of get that movement that way, or off. There's also more options for having it on a wide or a close in terms of the framing there. I don't particularly love these features in the sort of free version of what Canon's implemented, so I usually just leave that off and just use the basic auto tracking. There's also lost recovery mode, which can set an amount of time if you exit the frame that it will go back to a set position to try and pick you up again. So you can get that one in there. There's a gang mode. So if I turn on gang mode, it means that any adjustments that I make to like the manual speed or the drive times, that is copied across cameras, so that if I so I don't have to set each camera specifically. So if I'm suddenly jumping into camera 4, I know that I'm going to be operating at the same speed that I was on camera 1. Let's just turn off auto tracking just to make sure. But you can see auto tracking will appear down here. So as I'm clicking on different cameras, it's telling me that camera 1 is still auto tracking. I'll turn this one off. I'll come back to sheet names. Come back here. So up here is loop, which is a really cool feature. This is basically like an $800 plugin that you can buy, or you could get it for free with Companion's integration of this. The way I've integrated it into this is between 2 points. So if I set loop armed is on now, then you will see, actually let me just turn this off. I'm gonna go to a close-up. So I'm gonna go between a close-up and a mid-shot. So you can imagine if this was a camera at the back of the room and you just wanna get a little bit of motion into it so it's not just static, then this is particularly where it works really well between 2 points without having to really go into any software and set things. So I've set my mid and my close-up, and I've also set my time to 2 seconds. And then if I turn on my loop, the next time I select another preset, it's gonna start running this. So it's going between the mid shot and the close-up, and you can see it's sort of flicking between that. But if I set it to 30 seconds there, it's going to go, that do it. Let me turn that off. So mid-second, 7 seconds, here we go. So this is a sort of 7-second maneuver, like that, and then it's going to flick back into that. If you turn off loop, it'll finish the maneuver, and then it'll stop at the next preset position that it gets to. Or like I was saying, imagine this is a wide shot of a conference or something, and this PTZ is sort of set up on a static, but that's kind of boring, and so you can very quickly set like a left and a right. Actually, I think I have that here. Is that right? Left and right. Here we go. And so you could set that on 30 seconds, and you could turn on loop and just hit the next preset. So now you can have a camera at the back of a house of worship, or a conference, or a panel, or any sort of wide shot that you want it just to give a bit of drift back and forth so it feels more alive, and it is just going to run that until you turn that off, or until you give it another rotary preset there. So that's a loop mode. That's really cool. It was a lot of work to integrate it because each of these buttons have to be integrated with that, but I'm really proud of being able to get that into the profile. And what else? Under the adjust page, we've got this module OK again, so you can turn this on or off. The on or off button is holding the camera button, so if I hold camera 1, you'll see it will turn off. Or if I hold it again, it will turn the camera back on, and it will open. I think it will. Maybe I waited too long, or not long enough. There we go. Turn that back on. Seems like when you turn it off, you got to wait a few seconds before you turn it back on. Okay, last two things, which this bigger integration has, is it's integrated with Google Sheets, and you can turn this on or off also per camera. So if it's on gang mode, this will work across all cameras, or if you have gang mode off, it'll just work across the cameras you enable it for. So for camera 1, I've gone sheet names on. Actually, if I go to my desk shot over here, you'll see the names change. So where are we? Adjust. If I turn the sheet names off, see how these names are adjusting depending on if they're turned on or off. So if I turn sheet names on, this is now integrated with Google Sheets, and this becomes a really neat way of setting camera positions when you come to a venue. So let's go to this one here. So any sort of spreadsheet, I'm just columns A to F are cameras 1 to 6, and then rows 1 to 36, presets 1 to 36 in this grid. And once you've got it connected to Google Sheets, then you just need a page called PTZ. So it's capital PTZ. And then it will read these names off here, and it will put it onto your camera. So you can see here, I've got wide, mid, and close. Let me go in. No, I'm on the wrong camera here. There we go. I'll go right in so you can see. There we go. Camera 1, wide, mid, close. And so mid, let's go reposition so we can go really fast here. Wide, mid, close. So just say I was on a panel and I wanted to have people's names instead of this. I could just jump in here. David, I could, just go wide shot, and you'll see it's already updated here. So imagine you've come to a venue and you're starting to plot cameras. You're putting camera 1 up the back on a wide shot, and putting camera 2 for closer up on people, and then maybe you've got a left and a right camera, and you need to get a whole bunch of different positions. So you can just come through a spreadsheet and you can kind of plot out different camera positions for each camera. So you can see I've got wide, mid, close for my camera 1, and then I've got an offset position, which is when I have the graphic to the side of me, desk left, right, close up, product, a start, like a show start position, and then a bunch of ones that I'm just not using. And same with camera 2. I've got wide, mid, close, desk shot, showing the live streaming rack, multi-view, that kind of stuff. So just typing these names in here will put them onto the buttons there, and it makes it very easy to change it. You know, if you've got a panel where someone new sits down in it, you can quickly bang in a new name, and then you can find a name on a screen rather than like it being preset 7 and you're like, wait, was that kind of like the 2 shot or was that the closer one? So it just makes that much faster and easier to understand in that regard. All right, let's go back to a close-up here, and the last one I wanted to show you was something that I don't use very much, but it's something that I built in because I feel like there might be people with bigger shows that want this. So at the moment, my profile can address 6 cameras. I'm going to jump back over here. So you can address 6 cameras in one setting that is under, let me go over here, 77 under connections. So it'll be like this. You've got 6 PTZ connections in the full profile here. I've only got 2 of them turned on, but within each of these 6 presets, there's 2 more banks. So there's like 3 banks of 6 cameras that you can store to recall them. So if you have one show with 6 cameras arranged in a certain way, then you can have those IP addresses stored, and then at a flick of a button, you can change all the IP addresses to another 6 cameras and then another 6 cameras. So there's 18 cameras that you can store in there, as well as ATEM input presets, which I'll show in a bit. So if you want to use this, what you would do, so normally with this bank, this is on at the moment, 1 to 6, and it's been a while since I've used this. I don't think I set this up, but let's just, okay, so you'll see it flashes and it goes now 7 to 12 and 13 to 18 and 1 to 6. And if you hold it, it will turn it off so that it's disabled, so you can't accidentally switch your cameras during a show. So it's normally off, but if you wanted to save additional IP addresses, you would come into variables, custom variables, and you just type in PTZ, and you will see these ones that are in here. So PTZ underscore IP1 all the way up to IP18. And this is my camera 1's IP address and camera 2's IP address. And then if I had more cameras connected, I could have 3, 4, 5, and 6 as one bank. And so this would be bank 1 to 6 that I could store IP addresses in here, or you could like remix IP addresses depending on what you want to put in there. And then 7 through to 12 is going to be another set of IP addresses that you can address, and 13 to 18 is the next 6. And so what this is doing is, like for example, PTZ IP18, if I'm cycling through the bank, once I get to the 3rd bank, it's going to be putting IP18 into camera 6. So camera 6 would now have IP18 in here. But just think of that as like 3 banks, 1 to 6, and then you got the other 2 banks that you can use if you need to mix up your camera IP addresses quickly between different shows, and you want to have like 2 or 3 different show types. So that's the IP part of it. If you are using an ATEM, then you'll see also down here PTZ input 1 through to 18. So this is for each of those 18 IP addresses, there's also assigned an ATEM input number. So by default, it's just input 1 is the PTZ input 1 is the ATEM input 1, input 2 is input 2, that kind of stuff. But where this is useful is if you've got PTZ2, for example, just say this is PTZ2, wasn't plugged into input 2. I went to my ATEM and I was plugging it into input 4 because that was the only available slot. It means that I can just come to PTZ input 2, and instead of input 2, I would just go 4. And now when I do any of this switching in here, it's actually going to switch input 4. So to demonstrate, probably not very well, but actually we can see here. So input 4 is 4SB, which is, so this is my ATEM label here, which is saying input 4 streaming bridge is what would be coming in on this, but the streaming bridge is off. What's something else that I have on in, trying to remember, I could go to my ATEM. Let's open up the ATEM software rather than having a black screen. So if you go to sources, this will be all the labels here. So this 4SB, that's why it says on camera 2 is now 4SB. So it means I don't actually have to think about input 2, for example. It's just automatically updated the label on that. But I've got my, what's a good camera? I've got my NDI coming in on 12. So I could change input 2 to 12. And now it says NDI here. And so when I select NDI, that's in my preview, and then I can cut like this, and I can cut across. So that's how you can remap a camera's video input to a different ATEM input. Let me just, this one back before I forget. And now that it's back to 2, we're back to camera 2 on this one, and I can cut back to here. All right, let's have a few questions before we get out of here. Jesse, good morning from Redlands, California. Great to have you here. It's crazy how far you've come since your original profiles. Yeah, it's like, yeah, these have gotten really intricate and in-depth. I find always the challenge is I'm trying to make it simple for anyone to come to and sit down. But yeah, my first profiles were probably quite simple in terms of an ATEM mini switching. And now there's a ton of integration, there's a ton of power, and there's a ton of customization that you can do. But as I'm designing this, I'm always trying to think, if someone's sitting down, how can they see that? Like the, what do we have close up here of, so often there's like a long press function behind things, but you don't necessarily, you don't necessarily know that. So as you learn, like you can hit recall to go to this page, but you can also just hold recall, select your button to operate, and when you release it, it'll just automatically come back to the main page. So just things like that to make adjustments faster as you're going through, and ideally things that on a basic level, you can just press the button and it works. But as you get more advanced, there's other things in the profile that can speed up your workflow. So it's always a challenge trying to do that. And I'm currently in the process of trying to, the ATEM profile that I've got, I want to put more stuff into it. But it's sort of supporting the ATEM minis and the extremes and the 4MEs. And so I'm trying to work out, can I do an Apple and kind of just pare back some things in order to make the switching functions more powerful and easier for people to operate, fewer page jumps through things to operate something. I think when you're switching, like live streaming is challenging, I guess, because there's so much stuff happening in real time. Like you're monitoring audio and cameras and performances, and then you've also got internet connection reliability and bit rate, and there's so much stuff going on that the more you can assign that to an automated task, which is what I've put into my DJF run of show of a sequential run of show, as well as, and then the DJF clock that I've got in my profile can automate triggers for different, starting up a show or stopping a show. So there's a ton of customization that you can do there, but it's the balance between, if you're new to Companion, trying to make it easy for someone who doesn't understand maybe the networking side of it, or how, they're used to sort of plug and play, and then more advanced people who know how to take advantage of all of the networking control things. G'day, Sebastian. Great to chat with you again. It's been a little while since we've said hello, but good to see how you're doing. I now use more buttons in Companion. Do you think you'll update your amazing profile to buttons, like BitFocus buttons, because currently impossible to import any profile? What's your advice? Since 2 months, I use more buttons app than Companion, but currently impossible to update any profile, and I really want to use your amazing profile. What is your advice? I've really wanted to get into buttons. I haven't had the time to dive deeply into it, so that's why I'm sort of still on Companion. I did see that they just released a free version. Where did BitFocus go? Over here. So let me just go back to my shot here. So under BitFocus, or I guess I could go to just the home page. A better way to control. So as of, I think it was a month or two ago, there is, maybe it's here. Buttons 1.2 now has a sort of free tier on it. It used to cost, I think it was something like $9 a month just to use any surface with it, but now you can attach one surface for free. So you get one surface and you can route 16 ports, and so you can kind of get started in there. I mean, it looks like a cool modern interface, and as far as I'm aware, it's actually pulling on Companion modules in the background of like the feature sets that it enables. So it's still sort of drawing on the open source community that way. But I haven't had a chance to move it over, or it'd probably be a rewrite, I guess, for me, which would be a lot of time. And like I was saying before, it's like, I'm always thinking of like how best to support this product moving forward in terms of what I support for Canon PTZs and for the ATEMs are probably the two big ones, but there's also like Hyperdeck and a bunch of other things in there. Because one of the challenges as someone who's developing for Companion that I found is that it's a very manual process of like building these profiles and then updating them and getting them out. So it's there's a longer lead time than I would like to be able to update these. But I'm certainly sort of following as new parts of the application are released, that I'm sort of updating my profile to work with that and optimize for it. If I get time, I will look at moving it over. I don't know, it'd be interesting to see what sort of market there is for that there, and in terms of template type stuff that I build that could be used in a more enterprise way. But if you're watching this and you haven't used buttons, definitely jump in and try it out. It's, again, free to download and free to plug in one Stream Deck surface, and then I think you pay per, where is it? Product. I don't know where the pricing is. Maybe it's down here somewhere. Nope. Pricing must be further down. Connections, products, broadcasts, education, buttons, and product, download, I don't see it there. It's probably under pricing, right? All right, we'll give it a go. All right. Hopefully that was helpful. I think that's probably all I've got for now. Thank you for the questions, Sebastian, and Jesse, good to hear from you as well. So davidjoshuaford.com, that's my website that you can go to download a free profile and get controlling your Canon PTZ like I've been showing you in this episode. Until next week, take care, and I'll see you then. Bye.